Today I'm going to try to make twice cooked pork and spicy fried chicken. These are not meant to be instructional videos, as I will be modifying the recipes a bit to suit my own preferences, but I will post the recipes I used in the video descriptions in case you are interested in trying them out yourself. So if you'd like to try these dishes yourself for the first time, then I definitely recommend following the recipes closely so that the dishes turn out much closer than how they're intended. Now let's start by preparing all the ingredients while boiling the pork belly, which needs to simmer for about 30 minutes. For the spicy chicken, the traditional dish uses chicken with skin and bone, which really does make a pretty big difference in flavor. But since my white husband makes a fuss whenever anything has bone, I decided to use drumstick meat so that I still have a bit of the skin on top. Once the herbs and veggies are chopped, I'm going to marinate the chickens, as this is going to need to be set aside to soak in all the flavor for at least 20 minutes. Now let's slice up the pork. It is recommended that you use unsliced pork belly, otherwise it can end up being a bit dry, but I've made twice cooked pork before using pre-sliced pork belly, and honestly I thought it turned out fine because I just didn't boil it for as long. In hindsight, using the pre-sliced pork belly actually turned out even better because this time I got lazy with slicing and cut the pieces way too thick, so each piece of pork wasn't as flavorful. I'm now ready to cook the pork after kicking my dog out of the kitchen. After adding some oil, make sure to add your pork only after the oil is heated, and you can test this by adding a tiny piece of garlic and wait until it starts to bubble. So first I'm going to cook the pork until it's a bit brown on both sides by laying them out to cover as much surface area of the wok as possible, then flipping every so often. I like my twice cooked pork slightly charred, so I'm going to cook this just a little longer. Then take the pork out and set aside, and add the broad bean paste to cook for a bit before adding the peppers and garlic. Twice cooked pork is typically cooked with leek, and again, I would recommend including leek if you want it to be more authentic, but I didn't bother this time because I don't have any other uses for leeks right now, and I didn't want to buy a bundle just to freeze the majority of it. When the green peppers are a bit wilted, return the pork back to the pot and cook everything until it's well mixed. The name of the dish in Chinese directly translates to return to the pot pork, which makes more sense since for those who are counting, this is the third time we're cooking it. One thing to note is that since the broad bean paste is actually quite salty, if you added more of the sauce in the beginning, you may not need to add more soy sauce again at the last step, so I would recommend tasting it first before adding more soy sauce. Now after adding the cooking wine, it's done. Let's hope it tastes better than it looks. Now on to the spicy fried chicken. We might as well call this twice cooked chicken because similar to the pork, we will be cooking the chicken and returning it to the pot multiple times. The first time, I'm cooking the pre-marinated chicken with just a bit of oil at medium heat. Then scooping it out, adding more oil and cranking the heat. The second time, I'm cooking the chicken at high heat for a slightly shorter amount of time. Set aside again, lowering the heat, and adding some garlic and ginger and the dried red chili peppers before cooking again. Now, since I'm not trying to encourage my husband to spend more time on the toilet, I am breaking the chili peppers in half and shaking out majority of the seeds before adding them to the pot. This way you will get the smoky chili taste without much of the spice. It's really important here that the heat is kept fairly low, otherwise the peppers tend to burn pretty easily. Add the cooking wine, green onions, and finally the toasted sesame seeds before finishing it up.